initially, the SIG Cross, when it came out, I wasn't that interested in it. All they had was 6.5 and 308. They marketed it as a hunting rifle, and it had short barrels, usually 18 or 16 inches. And I looked at it and I said, well, if you really want a good hunting rifle, you need either some long action calibers or like a 6.5 PRC or whatever it was. Well, several years now have passed, right, since the SIG Cross came out, and now we have sitting in front of us a SIG Cross I'm actually interested in. So enter the SIG Cross Sawtooth series. They have a 308, 6.5 Creedmoor, and then they also have a 300 PRC, 7 PRC, and now this is the newest model, the 6.5 PRC. What separates this a little bit different though than a standard 6.5, 308, or short action is the fact that the action length in this model is what would be considered a medium length action, right? So it's not just the direct short length, it's not the direct, long action style, and it actually will take a different magazine. However, MDT produces a medium length action magazine, and that's what this comes with. So it is an AICS pattern magazine versus some of the early cross models, and the standard ones, they don't necessarily take AICS pattern. So this one here though, it is an AICS pattern magazine. It is a 4-round mag that you get with the gun. You'll notice what really separates the Sawtooth series of rifles in general is they come with a proof research barrel from the factory. And in general too, you're starting to see the aftermarket pick up and see pre-fit barrels for the Cross series rifle. So I feel like now, logically speaking, it's probably one of the best times to actually try out a SIG Cross rifle. So when SIG reached out to us, I pretty much couldn't say no. Because one, I wanted to try one at this point. I think the Sawtooth series looks really cool, right? With the OD green type chassis, or kind of like an evergreen, whatever we're gonna call it today. It does have a free float handguard per se, that's part of the chassis style system, 20 MOA rail. It has M-LOK slots on it at like 3, 6, and 9. It does have an Arca rail here on the back that's built into the chassis, so that's really nice to see. And then you notice I mounted a pick rail up on the front for our Tricer RP bipod. If you're unfamiliar with the Tricer bipods, they do come in this length standard, right? But when you buy them, they come with an Arca plate attachment, or they come with a pick rail attachment, and then they also come with short legs, all for like less than 400 bucks. It's a fantastic bipod that is really great for hunting. So now the barrel on here, this is a 22-inch proof research 6.5 PRC barrel. It is a 1-in-8 twist, and then it has SIG's, omnidirectional muzzle brake, which normally I've been suppressing almost all of my rifles. However, for today's review, I decided not to. And the reason I decided not to do that is because if you're somebody looking to get into like the Sawtooth series, and maybe you're trying to do NRL Hunter or for an out-of-the-box gun or something like that, well, you may not suppress it. And also to keep the weight down, this is a 6-pound, 9-ounce rifle out of the box, right? So without the scope. So this is an omnidirectional. It's a little bit different than your standard omnidirectional muzzle brake. Now the rest of the chassis has a very nice fit and finish. So we'll break off this bipod real quick and I'll show you guys some of this stuff on here. So with the chassis itself, it does have like a standard AR-15 style grip on the rear, and then the safety selector is just like an AR as well. Now for me personally, I can't say that that would be my #1 choice. And the only reason being is that I also shoot a lot of like Remington 700 pattern guns, chassis or not, and I've gotten very used to the safety being up on top. And on top of it, whether you agree with it or not, most bolt gun shooters, competition, and people who are a little bit more experienced, the safety is kind of like an afterthought, right? So the rounds aren't going in the chamber, you're not getting ready to shoot. So arguably there's no round in the chamber for most of the time until you're ready to shoot, and you're not really using that safety very much, right? Now on a hunting rifle, it's 100% a necessity. So this does have a safety, it's positive, and it's easy, very, very easy to hit. And in fact, you can even use it as a thumb ledge when your hand's on the grip. Now the trigger itself is a 2-stage trigger, which for me personally is not what I would prefer. That would probably be my #1 recommendation to SIG, is to not have a 2-stage trigger. However, there are some folks that do seem to like the 2-stage trigger quite a bit. Unfortunately, these triggers are like proprietary, or they are unique to the SIG Cross rifles. Meaning if you're a Trigger Tech fan, a Timney, Bix and Andy, stuff like that, you can't put those triggers in here. They just don't have a good model for this. Do I think they're gonna come? I really do, just because of how popular the SIG Cross has started to become. Right, they do dub it as like a match trigger. It has a very, very light, let's say smooth take up, and a crisp and defined breaking wall, right? So let's actually test that pull weight. Yeah, that pulled at 1 pound, 8 ounces. So that is perfect for me, right? Some folks will say that's a little bit too light, but for me, Yeah, 1 pound, 8 ounces again. So 2 exact poles at 1 pound, 8 ounces. So about 1.5 pounds out of the factory this gun came. So that's perfect for most people, right? Now, like on my rifles, a lot of them, I have them set between like 12 ounces to 14 ounces. That's gonna be too light for a lot of folks. But for me, I've kind of found it a sweet spot that I've gotten used to, and I found it very nice. Now the bolt on here is a little bit more unique than most, let's say, of course, the R700. So on here, it's more like a 75-degree throw, okay? Comes back, and it's smooth, right? It's very easy to operate. It doesn't hang up, it doesn't bind. And you'll notice back here, unlike a Daniel Defense Delta 5, it doesn't just sit back here and wobble at a $2,500 rifle that the bolt feels like shit. So, you know, sorry to knock on your Delta 5s if you like them, but like this bolt right here is very nice. It's very smooth, it's easy to operate, and actually on the lift and on the close, there's no additional pressure, right? So, you know, a lot of times on some guns, in particular the R700, sometimes on the lift, it's a little bit stiff because it's actually cocking the hammer. On this one, as far as the design goes, it's very smooth and very easy to operate. On top of that, it is a folding stock, right? So it's very easy to fold. All you have to do is simply press the button, pull up on it a little bit, and then close it. What's nice about this rifle is it was definitely thought out that when you close it, it actually closes over top of the bolt handle versus the other way around. By doing this, it locks your bolt in place so it can't open, and it also sits a little bit more compact and flat. Now, for myself, when I ran the Mammoth Sniper Challenge, I used a folding chassis, perfect on a backpack, right? When I went to Alaska, folding chassis on my gun. I pretty much, at this point, will prefer a folding chassis on my hunting rifles just because of how well they pack, right? So you take this rifle with a 22-inch barrel, you fold the chassis, and you see how short it is, right? So if I hang this on like the side of my pack, which is riding just above my waistline, it's barely gonna stick above my head. And even if you add like a 7-inch suppressor, it's not gonna be up there like a big flag, like you're out there in a dune buggy in the dunes, right? So pretty nice stuff as far as that goes. You see it locks, there's a little bit of wobble when it's locked in place. When you close it, it's rock solid, right? No issues there. The butt pad on here does have a nice squish to it, right? It feels like it could actually like do a little something. Now 6.5 PRC, it's a very mild round if you ask me, and especially when you put a muzzle brake or a suppressor on it. Now back here, it does have toolless adjustment for your, you know, actual like raising the cheek piece, right? And then adjusting your length of pull. And it does have a bag rider in the rear as well. Tons of great features on this thing out of the box. Like most rifles, it's expensive. We've become into a generation of rifles where most your higher end factory guns will cost you above $2,000. This is no exception, right? MSRP is about $2,600, but I've seen them street price for $2,400. For what you're getting, right? Let's consider everything that's on this rifle with the exception of the scope, of course. What you're getting, you get a 22-inch proof research barrel. Most of the time, they're about $1,000 to $1,200, depending on the certain one you get. You get a small muzzle brake, so we'll give it about 40 bucks there. It's probably a little bit generous for an omnidirectional. A trigger that you don't need to change. It's very usable. You know, most triggers, you know, if you get a Diamond Elite or whatever it might be from Trigger Tech, $300. And then you have a chassis, right? So within the barrel and a chassis that's very similar to like an MDT Hunt 26 chassis, you already have about $2,000 or more between those two things, not including your trigger, not including your grip, and then it also has a 20 MOA rail built in. Really, you know, the value, right? It's not completely off base, although it's $2,400. So let's go out on the range. We're gonna shoot this. I have a few different rounds, right? The two ones that I really wanna see for myself that I found with 6.5 PRC is sometimes Federal Terminal Ascent shoots really great out of guns, and sometimes it shoots like hot garbage. But with that being said, Hornady Precision Hunter and 6.5 PRC pretty much always shoots good. Granted, it's because obviously Hornady developed a 6.5 PRC round, so to be expected. So we're gonna shoot Hornady Precision Hunter and the Federal Terminal Ascent because these are the two most popular 6.5 PRC hunting bullets on the market. This is a hunting rifle. Could it be used for other stuff? Of course. But it's a hunting rifle, so we're going to evaluate it as that with hunting rounds. I have match stuff. I'll get it zeroed. We'll show you guys the groups. But out of the box, I just want to be able to prove that this thing, you could take it out, shoot it with no break-in period, because Proof always says their barrels do not require a break-in period to be accurate. They make that very well known. It's basically a statement on their website. So this rifle should be no exception to that. Do rifles get a little bit more accurate? Sure. Can they? Sure. But if a gun is a 1.5-inch gun out of the box, it's not all of a sudden going to be a 1/2-inch gun a month from now after you shoot 100 rounds. That's just not going to happen, right? So we'll shoot this thing, see how it does for accuracy, give you guys final thoughts. But really, when you look at this rifle, for everything you get, the way it's built, it seems built very well. you know, especially like a one piece, let's say frame chassis here in the beginning. And it's just, the fit and finish is fantastic. And it's a very nice looking rifle. So let's shoot it, see how it performs. I think I'll have our zero close enough here. We're gonna shoot this rifle, see how it performs. And you know, I shot one round out of the gun. It basically hit dead bullseye at 50 yards, so we shouldn't be off very much. The action's very smooth. It feels nice. How it hooked up to my tripod was nice, just for that single lone round I shot. Let's go ahead and shoot this thing, see how it performs. So I got 4 rounds loaded up in the MDT short Magnum magazine. We'll see how it actually feeds. After I run out of these 4 rounds, I'm gonna and then actually chamber load one. We'll see how it performs there as well. Chamber load. All right, very first rounds out of the gun, right? So the first, I don't know, 8 rounds out of the gun. Our group is printing at probably a fringe 1-inch group, if not just a touch over. We'll go down there, look at it. Again, that's a 5-round group. Chamber loading was no issue. The gun, let's take a look at our ejection kind of pattern, right? Like how does the bolt actually run? And all of our brass is in the same location, all right here. Overall, it's very easy to run the bolt. You don't have to run it hard. It's not hard to pop open. It's not hard to close. No problems feeding. Of course, you shouldn't have any of that stuff on a brand new rifle. Brand new wise though, the group isn't horrible. We'll let the barrel cool down a touch here before we do any more. But overall, right now, out of the gate, it does not look bad. Once this barrel cools down, I'm gonna shoot a second 5-round group. And then I'll shoot the terminal Ascent as well. We'll see how that stuff performs. First 5-round shot or 5-round group out of the gun was this one right here, right? So my point of aim, of course, is the bullseye there. This was the one I was like, we're getting pretty close, as you can tell. That's 5 rounds out of the gun. MOA group out of it is a 1.094 MOA group. That's using ballistic X, measuring the target and all that. So it's obviously just a touch or a hair over an inch. And I'd like to see how this thing can continue to perform. I'm letting the gun cool down for a second. We're gonna shoot another one. And then after I shoot that other one, we'll measure that group and then we'll shoot the terminal Ascent and see how it does as well. And overall though, you know, I can't be unhappy with that. Is it the tightest group? No, right? Is it shooting bad? No. Again, this is a 5-round group. A lot of shooters will just come out here and shoot a 3-round group. So I'd like to see how 5-round groups look. 3 rounds are great for hunting. 5 rounds is a little bit more for the target shooter, but they also show you more of how a rifle is. So let's continue to shoot. So that group's a little bit tighter than our first one. Not a bad overall group again. It looks like it's about an inch group, so it's gonna be probably just a touch under that. It's shooting well. Is it the most accurate 6.5 PRC I own? Well, I have a custom gun that shoots better, right? But for what you're getting with this package, it's shooting pretty darn well. I can't be all that unhappy with it. In fact, that group, like I said, we'll measure it. We'll let this barrel cool down a touch, and we're gonna shoot some Federal Terminal Ascent out of it. So I'm gonna shoot another group out of the Hornady Precision Hunter. And ultimately what I wanna do with that is I'm gonna take the 3 groups that I've shot out of it that are all about 1 inch, right? And see what the average is. And then basically show you guys that the gun is capable of shooting, you know, repeatable 1 inch groups or 5-round 1 inch groups, which is really good, right? We're not shooting 3-inch group. We're not shooting 3-round groups, we're shooting 5. So keep that in mind. Anytime you go and you start throwing more bullets into a group size, it's gonna start to be larger than what you might be accustomed to. So if you're like, hey, I've got a 1/4 minute gun, but it can only shoot a 1/4 minute if I only shoot three rounds, well, that's understandable, right? It's obviously an accurate rifle. What I wanna see is how this thing performs with that. So again, like I said, I'm gonna shoot another 3 or 5 round group with it, see how that one is, and we'll get the average of all 3 of them and give you guys that data. All right, how does that group look? Relatively the same, if not just a touch over the 2 previous ones. So it looks like it's a pretty consistent 1-inch gun for 5 round groups. Factory test with everything, you know, right? You're looking at 3 shot groups. I've just started to shoot more with my rifles. I've noticed that most guns, after you push them past 3 rounds, the group size does open up, but this rifle itself is consistently holding it, right? And so we're gonna shoot just one, because we're gonna let it cool down before I shoot the Federal Terminal Ascent. I'm gonna shoot just one 3-shot group in the center of our target. So far down there, I shot a group in the top right corner, bottom right corner, top left corner, and now I'm gonna shoot one in the center of a 3-round group. Mind you, this is now going to be after allowing the gun to get a little bit warmer. You know, it is a proof barrel. It's not hot, it's just warm. So let's see how it performs. It's actually a probably 3/4 inch group on a 3-shot group, right? So let's go down there and take a look at it. So we talked a lot about, you know, shooting Federal Terminal Ascent. I don't know that I'm really going to shoot it, to be fair, right? I've just not had that much luck. We're not going to show it today. We'll have a follow-up review with this gun because I'm going to shoot it more. I happen to really like how it shoots and how it feels and how it's performing ultimately. So I want to take it out at distance. But in general, too, like I mentioned before, I do have a custom 6.5 PRC being built. So I'd like to see how this rifle compares to that. But what I want to show you guys, our very first group, right, this is this one right here. This one actually printed out on Ballistic X at 1.094 MOA, right? So it's just a touch over a 1-inch group. This is a 5-round group, right? Let the barrel cool, shot this next group. This next group, it printed out at 0.711 MOA group, right? 5-round group, again, you'll notice it's obviously a little bit better. That's probably a little bit shooter getting a little bit more familiar with the rifle. And then I said, you know what? I'm not gonna let the rifle cool at all. I'm gonna shoot the next group. And the next group you see is this one here at the top left, which printed out to be a 1.26 MOA group. Now, granted, these are all 5-round groups, but this thing did shoot a 3/4 MOA group roughly right here on the bottom right. And then I shot this last one. So here, right now, what you're looking at, this is 5 rounds, 10 rounds, and then 13 rounds, right? So this is a 3-shot group. I said, hey, how does it shoot a 3-shot group? The rifle itself shot a 3-shot group that printed out at a 0.742 MOA group. But what you'll see is the rifle is consistently accurate, right? It's not stringing rounds as it gets warm, and it's still shooting consistent. If anything, it may even be starting to tighten up a little bit, right? Because like I said, this one here and then this, and I didn't let it cool. So what I'll tell you is, like, let's say you're an NRL Hunter competitor. Come take a look. You're a little closer with me, right? So we can all understand. Is that right here, you have this diamond, right? This diamond is roughly 1.5 inches, or 2 inches, I should say, right? It's a 2-inch diamond, right? Your target you're gonna shoot in NRL and most competitions are never gonna be smaller than that. This is only 100 yards. The gun consistently will shoot the group sizes you need to be able to compete with it. And hunting wise, proof's in the pudding. If you don't think these groups are good out of a factory gun, consistently shooting basically an MOA, if not less in some occasions, especially with a 3-shot group, I don't know what more else you can want. Are there more accurate guns? Sure there are, right? Again, I've shot custom guns that are more accurate, but on the factory side, pretty much all the 6.5 PRCs I've shot, Christensen, Bergara, and this now, they roughly all shoot very similar group sizes. Some of that, you know, could be inconsistencies in ammo from Hornady or whatever it might be, or even the Federal Terminal Ascent I've shot it. And to be fair, almost every gun I've shot it out of is just, it's very hit or miss whether it's going to shoot well. And you know, sometimes I'll shoot a good group, the next time I go shoot another group and it's just a pile of shit, to be frank, right? I don't know how else to describe that. So really, the SIG Cross Sawtooth is a really great shooting rifle that I look forward to getting more time behind. But stay tuned for future videos on it. We finished up, you know, shooting the SIG Cross Sawtooth and 6.5 PRC. Overall, I think it's a great shooting gun. You know, we've analyzed all the groups, and then we took a second. Andrew was like, hey, let me try shooting it. So he decided to shoot the Terminal Ascent out of the gun. And it printed this group that is just as good as the Hornadys, right? And in fact, this one here was a flyer. So that's actually a 5-shot group with this one here that he called as a flyer. Some folks agree with that or disagree. We're not going to fight about it. But what I'll tell you is that the gun obviously is very accurate in the hands of two different shooters. It's as accurate as you would need it to be to shoot long range, to hunt with it, or shoot a match with. So that's really all I can ask for. It's become how I start to evaluate rifles nowadays. And the SIG Cross Sawtooth and 6.5 PRC, because I haven't shot the rest of them, I think it's worth every penny. It's a very nice rifle. It seems to run very well. The action is smooth, right? Like you'll notice like with that, like so like if you're down here on the gun, come up with your thumb, come back down in. It doesn't bind, it doesn't hang up. It's very easy to actually work. The magazine release works well. It's easy without breaking your grip and things like that. You can chamber load, the safety and all that. You know, probably the weakest point for me personally is the trigger. It's not a bad trigger, right? I just don't like 2 stages. So if you're somebody that doesn't like 2 stages, you may not like the trigger. But as long as you understand that you just pull through that first stage, hold it at the wall, and then run the gun ultimately like you would a trigger tack or something like that, it's perfectly fine. The barrel obviously performs, the gun shoots well. Not a whole lot you can ask for. You know, the SIG Cross Sawtooth and 6.5 PRC does everything you want it to do. And I think it truly is worth its price tag. I can't say that for a lot of guns. So really guys, if you're interested, I would highly recommend you check out the SIG Cross.